ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to bring the
Other thing.
October meeting of Support Services to order. We don't have a quorum yet, but we only need one more person, and that'll be fine. We're going to start with Stan and Terry from the Warren County Historical Society or Association? Society. And you have a little presentation.
Ready?
We are ready for you, and thank you for coming. And I have not been over to your building yet, but...
We forgive you, but we'll expect you there soon.
Okay.
Good morning, thank you. I'm the Stan Sanfrano, Warren County historian. I know most everybody around here. And I'd like to reintroduce Terry Rogers, who is our executive director. We're across the Northway in the old nurses' residence. And we wanted this time just to bring you up to date. You should remember we visited you before we opened the museum, and we have some good news. So, Terry.
Okay.
I am.
Okay, all right. Go to the next one. Okay.
Maybe.
Terry, actually, if you could stand at the podium, probably get a better microphone,
Okay, all right.
please.
Hi. Well, here might be.
Hello? Sorry I'm late.
Perfect.
Is that better?
That's perfect.
Okay, good. Good morning, Support Services Committee and members of the Board of Supervisors. Stan and I are very happy to be here. We were here about a month and a half ago, just before our museum opened. And first and foremost, we want to thank you so much for your financial and moral support throughout the last couple of years as we've been creating our museum. So as Stan said, we're here to bring you up to date very quickly. We are, as you know, at 50 Gurney Lane. We're a historical society and a museum now. We're in a building that you graciously granted us the use of in May of 2017. And you gave us a very important charge at that time, which was to create a destination venue where people could come and learn about history, residents and visitors alike. And we took that to heart, and I must say we did go to work with a will, as they say, and we've created something really wonderful. We're in a building that was built about 1922. It was the nurses' residence originally for the nurses' dormitory for the TB sanitarium. And we continue to provide an important mission to the county in terms of promoting, preserving, and educating about the history of Warren County. But now we have a permanent exhibition and a museum where we've really expanded our focus. Our motto for many years was holding on to a heritage. And now our motto is where history meets the future, because we really are a place where we're trying to be innovative, we're trying to interpret the past with an eye toward helping us all to live a better future. And it's our hope that through what we do as historians, we can help you on the Board of Supervisors do your job better by helping to move history forward in our region. We are funded by grants and gifts, and we have a lot of important historical programs that we give. We have an open house every year, which is coming up this year on November 9th. This picture on the left shows our founder, Dr. Marilyn Van Dyke, opening a logging exhibit that we mounted last year. And on the right is a photo from last year's History Day. One of the things that we do as an organization is to educate other historians in order to do their jobs better. This is an example of some of our narrative panels from our new exhibit, Warren County 360, Celebrating Place and People. The exhibit is absolutely outstanding and innovative. I urge you to come and see it. We brought some brochures with us today, but we try to tell the story of Warren County in a new and different way, with a different wrinkle that you might not have used before when looking at the history of our county. One of the things we've been able to do, thanks to the space we have in this building, is to bring things out of our collection and share them with people. So I think you'll be delighted to see that we are able to showcase a lot of the important items that we have from our collections and exhibit. I want to highlight the timeline over on the top right. That timeline is a very complex project that was done by 3 of our student interns from Queensbury High School that have been working with us for about 18 months. And it showcases the salient dates of Warren County's history put in context of national and international history.
We have a resource library, a resource center. We can't call it a library because state ed says you have to have a certified librarian. But we have a wonderful collection of resource materials, and we have actually a former county employee, Kyle Graves, who persons it, I don't know what. She's in charge of it. In addition to the books and reference materials, we have a genealogical file, and I need to point out that because I'm the county historian, I have a wonderful collection of genealogy material in the office downstairs, and if anybody's interested in seeing where they came from, I'd be glad to get you started. But the Historical Society and myself and Joan Aldis, who is a Queensbury historian, and actually all of the town historians, we work together. If I have a question receive a question about someone from Warrensburg, I know I can call Warrensburg historian and see what she has, and vice versa. So we have reference material on the historical front that's in addition to the wonderful collection we have downstairs, and we specialize in doing all of us working together to do the genealogy pieces.
We also have collections and archives. In our upstairs, we have all of our paper collections, maps, letters, diaries, photographs. And then in the basement area, we have our artifacts and things. And those are open to the public. Anytime we have an interesting software program called Past Perfect, which allows us to actually have finding aids to assist people that are doing research to find what is in our collection because it is so vast. On the right-hand side is a picture of a very new acquisition to our Historical Society, and it's our large format rotary scanner. This is something that we're very proud of, and it's something that most organizations of our size do not have, but it puts us in a nice new category of being able to assist other historical societies and historians in the region, and it allows us to scan very large items like maps and photographs. We obtained a grant from the Alfred C. Solomon Charitable Trust Foundation for this piece of equipment. It's about $6,000 or $7,000, and the grant was a $17,000 grant because we needed a $10,000 server to go along with it to operate it. So this really is a very important item for us, not only to allow us to scan things in our collection, including a large collection of 50 years of Post-Star and Glens Falls Times newspapers that we want to scan and digitize, but it's also part of our longer-term emergency and disaster preparedness plan. We work very close with Amy Drexel here at the county in order to make sure that we on site at 50 Gurney Lane are prepared in the event of any kind of a disaster. So being able to digitize our collections means that if we did have a catastrophic fire, we would still have all the information of our history saved.
We do have a book and gift shop in the building, so I encourage you to think about history gifts for the upcoming holidays. We, in addition to selling books of other authors, we go looking for books to share, and we're trying to publish a book a year. And this year's book is World War II and Korean War Memories by George Morwood. It's a fascinating read and an easy read. If you know anybody interested in the wars, come and look at the book. We also, oops. Oh well, I don't know where they went, but we also produce a quarterly newsletter, Pastimes. We're always looking for people who want to do research and provide some material for that. We also put on our website the first-ish and 15th-ish of every month a local history program, and we are always looking for somebody who wants to share a short local history, and see me if you really do, if you have some good history connection. Well, I don't know, we have a couple of slides here. I guess I lost them.
When we wanted to create a museum venue based on the charge that you've given us, we embarked upon some new research. And these are basically the exhibit themes that all of us on staff, and we're a staff basically of volunteers, retired professionals, who are really good at what they do. And we went to work to research in these different categories: place, community, conflict, and the history of warfare in our community, development and settlement, work and play, arts and change. Over the years, we've been a community that has seen a lot of changes in suburbanization due to the building of the Adirondack Northway. It's had a lot of ramifications in terms of the economies of our northern communities. So, Stan, if you want to go to the next slide, we'll go right into that. So basically what we wanted to do with our permanent exhibition is to tell the story of Warren County through the lens of cultural geography, showing how humans interact with their environment and what that portends for our economy and our society. And so we looked at the natural resources that were present here in Warren County at the time that our first pioneers came here. And we built off that, and we tried to show how the beauty of our landscape and the riches of our natural resources led to the development and evolution of our economy and our culture here. And we feel that it's a really effective way to talk about the history, not only past, but present and future. We're changing in our history here in the county. We originally were lumbering and paper making and mining community, and we still have those things. But now some of the more emergent industries are medical device manufacturing and healthcare. And we honor those things very much. As an organization that is on a piece of property in Warren County that originally was the birthplace in many ways of healthcare in Warren County, we're very excited to see Hudson Headwaters expanding here, and we know that that's an important story to tell. So we take it upon ourselves to take pride in telling that story as well. This is the centerpiece of our exhibit. It is a custom-made map of Warren County showing important geographic features. It also has all of the municipalities surrounding the map, and it tells their formal original names and dates of establishment. And this is the first thing that people see when they come into our museum. So I'd like to just make sure that everyone has a copy of our brochure. I think I brought enough, but if you can pass these around, happy to answer any questions that you might have, and Stan's going to finish up.
Terry alluded to our student interns. We've had interns over the years, but this past year we had 3 high school seniors from Queensbury who worked diligently on the timeline that we showed you, and they're seniors and they sort of left us. One of the seniors is commuting to school at Union, and he's staying with us here, and he comes in once or twice a week to work, but he also is a board member. We wanted a student board member for some years, and we finally have one, and he's still a student, so it works. Anyway, you need to come and visit us, please. If you haven't, a number of you joined us at the opening, and we appreciated your presence, but we'd like you to officially invite you again to come over to the museum. Times are there, and see what we're all about. Thank you.
Very good. Anybody have any questions for Terry or Stan?
Stunned them.
Yes. Or is there-
Terry, on that, your scanner, your big scanner, can other historical societies use that as well for their archives?
Yes, we've actually developed a policy where we offer it for use for a small fee to other nonprofit organizations primarily. So it's really it's part of our mission to help other historical societies and other nonprofits to do what they do well. And as I said, it's something that a lot of other organizations do not have. So we have someone on staff that operates it and works to develop a plan with people that might want things scanned.
Any other questions? Well, Stan, Terry, thank you very much for the update. Appreciate you
you.
coming, and it looks like now your museum is on our family tour. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day. And we have several departments that are on our schedule. Several departments are on our schedule today. Board of Elections is not on our schedule, but I'll start with that after I entertain a motion to accept last meeting's month's minutes. Motion made by Supervisor Wiles, second by Supervisor Hogan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Then we're going to start with Board of Elections. As you know, early voting started Saturday. They had a very successful day. The poll workers, it was new to them. The electronic poll books were new to them. Outside of training, they worked very well. Not only can you just put in the first three letters of the first and last name, or you can scan your driver's license. No identification is required to vote. The commissioners and deputy commissioners were very supportive of the poll workers, so it was a great day. 105 people voted. Yesterday, 61 people voted. So we're off and running, and I congratulate you and thank you on their behalf and the county's behalf in the support of getting them to this point. But that segues into the future. Now, in the past, we've had two primaries, perhaps, well, one primary, usually, and then it evolved into two primaries, and then occasionally three primaries with the presidential elections and the general election. Well, next year, we're going to have three primaries and the general election, but we're also going to have early voting for each of the primaries. Up to this point, all the poll workers have been paid a certain amount. They're long days, but they've been paid a certain amount, but it never added up to more than casual income, so they never received a 1099. So if they made $500, they made $500. That $500 went into their pocket and stayed there until they went to Burger King. Now, with the new schedule, that number could go over $600. I think it's $600, $650, something like that. Requires a 1099, so now their $600 is going to be $400 and something dollars. So they're going to take a pay cut to work. How that'll be scheduled, because we don't have a whole line of people waiting to get on the list to work the polls. How it's going to be scheduled will be found out. But keep this in mind over the next months of how we're going to prevent a souring of attitudes of the poll workers. When they go and they work from 6 in the morning until 9 at night, and then they come home and say, wait, I did that for $7 an hour? I'm going to have to rethink this. Please keep that in mind. I don't know how we're going to deal with that, but it's something that's going to have to be addressed. The other thing is our staff, our deputy commissioners and our commissioners, up to this point, part of their schedule is to work the elections. And that's just their job. They get in early on the nights that they prepare, on the days they prepare, and they stay late on Election Day. We all know that. That's been part of their job for forever. With the early voting, their schedule is now changing. They're going to have to work weekends, and there are going to be a lot of days that they work extra days in the week. From what I understand, because of salary, there's no overtime, and we don't have a provision for them to get comp time. So that's something else we have to think about, because it's really not. I guess the question, it's not equitable and it's not fair that they should take on this burden. Comp time would be a very good way to resolve it, but we don't have that provision. As far as I know, and I'm glad, Kevin, you're here to keep that in your mind also, as far as how we handle the contracts and our non-union folks working these extra hours. Supervisor Leggett.
The deputy commissioners are not hourly?
I believe they're also salary. So something to keep in mind. And on that, any questions on that? Okay. Carla, our auditor, would like to go first.
Bill, if you don't mind,
Yes.
I'd like to
Sure.
just have a comment about the 1099. It's not like we're withholding any taxes from their pay stub, right?
Correct, but they have to report it as
They
income.
do have to report it. And they didn't have to report it as income. If it's
Casual
like
income is not reported.
Really? It's not true.
What?
100%. If you're getting paid, you should report it.
That's casual income, I don't think.
You're not required to, you should.
Well, that's,
Nah.
That's the honest way to do it.
we won't comment, we're on tape here. I would suspect that no one,
I hope...
same as winning at 50-50, that will be income. No one's going to report that. Carla, if you would, please.
Good morning. So I'm here asking for money.
Bad timing.
And it's not that much. But I ran short in my telephone budget this year because the abstract process changed, so my monthly bill went up that I didn't know would happen when I did this year's budget last year. So I think I'm asking for $100 to make sure that I don't go negative in my telephone line this year. And the other money that I'm asking for $400 for my supply line to order the books and testing materials for part 2 of my Certified Internal Auditor series. I recently took the first test after I did my budget, and it's incredibly difficult. I also found out after I took it that the pass rate for the 3-part series is 40%. So my original plan was to take one test a year so that it spread it out over the budget years and didn't all come at once. After taking the first test, I would really feel more comfortable if I could just keep going and not wait until next year, which I do have this money in my budget for next year. But I'd really like to get the books now so that I could prepare and be ready to take the test either the end of this year or early next year.
Make a motion.
Supervisor Wild to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Hogan, second. Questions, discussion. Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Carl, so that's not too tough of a schedule then? You know, the once a year was more relaxed than what it needs to be?
Well, right, and there's more chance that I'm not going to necessarily retain everything for the test. So I would feel more comfortable personally to get them done quicker than take time. I did pass the first test.
Very good.
Ah.
Good.
Well then, of course, we should move forward with this.
Great.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Very good.
Thank you.
Congratulations on passing the test. And,
Thank you.
Keep working hard and you'll succeed in the other tests too. Thank you very much. Now, Ms. Vogel, County Clerk.
On hoping that you had a chance to read the information that was regarding today's discussion, but certainly we'll do our best to review it at this time.
Actually, Pam, if you excuse me, before you start, when, I don't know, if you folks come in periodically, I know you come in periodically, come through the DMV doors, and you see the crowd that continues to be online in the motor vehicles. When Pam first started, how many years ago? 10 years ago?
Few years ago.
Well, it's important because prior to that, the DMV was a four-letter word in Warren County, probably everywhere. I mean, it was the brunt of late-night jokes where you would stand in line for a half hour and you get up to the counter and say, oh, you're in the wrong line. And you'd have to go back to the beginning of end of another line. And when Pam came aboard, she made a lot of changes which turned the DMV customer service around completely and bumped it from, it's no longer the brunt of late night jokes. They do a great job. But it's it's a busy department, and Pam has been struggling to keep her staff up, and that's for a couple of reasons. People retire. To fill the ranks, it requires an exam, and then apparently it takes, after the exam, we have one scheduled soon,
We did have one October 19th.
but it'll be 3 months before the results come out, which is incredible. As Pam pointed out, we can get national election results in a night, but 3 months to get the test results. And then, as in any high technical job, it's before they're really proficient. While they'll be working within a few weeks of training, it's going to take a year and a half to bring them up to full speed. But that's just one. Right now we have a vacancy. We're going to replace a person, but I would recommend you thinking about replacing two, because people just come up there, and every day they come up, they wait online, and we need to find a way to we need to give Pam the resources so that she can do the job she wants to do. So, Pam?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The purpose of today's meeting, of course, is, and this resolution, which is to create a new position called Senior Motor Vehicle Examiner, currently in place of an existing motor vehicle clerk. And so the purpose of that resolution is to address basically a restructuring of the office. Currently, you have a DMV supervisor, you have a senior motor vehicle examiner, you have your motor vehicle clerk, and then you have a part-time motor vehicle clerk. That part-time motor vehicle clerk is something we were able to, it's been a position we've had in place for a number of years, 3 or 4 at least. It's been a very difficult one to fill. Contrary to my beliefs, I thought this would be a perfect position for perhaps a student, heavier in the summer hours, lighter in the winter hours, but that never materialized for whatever reason. Despite our going out, it didn't. However, good news, we were able to put in place an excellent person with title background that had spent 30 plus years in a local motor vehicle. A dealer. So retired out of there, and that's the first luck I've had on retirees in the DMV in all of these 16 years. So in terms of finding someone with that kind of knowledge and experience, it's a little different from working inside a dealership versus the county being the responsible agency for getting this the rest of the way into the New York State DMV system. So, at any rate, very fortunate to have that person as an editor of dealer work for us, in a company with a second dealer, full-time dealer. So at any rate, we have our supervisor, a senior motor vehicle clerk, and a part-time. What we're proposing with this resolution is initially taking one of the motor vehicle clerks and making a second senior motor vehicle examiner. And the reasons behind that, there's a lot of changes going on. As the chairman has mentioned, you walked in here during the summer, we were doing 400 transactions a day. The place was full for the entire, from before 8 in the morning until 5 at night. It was busy. Our security out there were just monitoring. Sometimes they would need to be inside, but they were monitoring it all day long. And so why is that happening? Well, there's a variety of things. DMV is changing. I guess we know that a little bit. Real ID, enhanced driver's license, you get little notices, reminders about these. In the year 2020, in the October of 2020, there are certain requirements as far as entering federal buildings and flying on domestically. And so those things are out there, and there's a supreme push for those. Now, many people have passports, and that, of course, is a very, very valid, and I certainly have my own as well, and many people do. But other people will also not want to go the passport route, and that, of course, negates, if they don't, international flying. But they will opt for these other Real ID or enhanced driver's license. They are a multi-step process. They take longer. They require much information. So, unfortunately, people that will come into the DMV will say, I already got my license. I already presented that. Not anymore. Women with their name changes is when they marry. Divorce actions that might change a name back. All of those require additional documentation. So, in partial good news, DMV has changed some of their requirements. As they see the frustration levels going up in offices, they periodically will say, well, maybe that wasn't a good idea. Well, maybe we could do it this way. So we are constantly being changed by that. It's very possible that I could have been in line in June and be turned away because of something, but not having a certain type of documentation. And might get in line again today, and it might get a little bit easier. So they are modifying things, which puts us in an ever-changing atmosphere. So Real ID, enhanced driver's license, green light law, you're probably familiar with that. That's the discussion that's going on, the law that's going on about undocumented. How are we going to be handling that? There's going to be a need for, with these types of transactions, definitely more supervisory oversight. We don't know where it's going. Effectively, middle of December, we could be in that position of working with an undocumented. I don't know if that will occur. I don't know if we will actually be able to service them even if the law is in place and not challenged. But it requires, that kind of supervisory attention to these matters. We have mandatory audits. Every employee in the Warren County DMV and all DMVs is subject to constant audits at their station, on their daily work, and on various batches that are pulled out periodically according to a formula, so that for audit purposes. They also require that supervisor to sit down with that individual and review that entire audit that is required by New York State. So cash audits, station audits, is there, is the glass of water okay, or, that's okay, but, you're not going to find somebody sitting at a terminal with a bagel, which might happen in another kind of office with their bagel at their side, It's not going to happen in the DMV. These are complex transactions we're entering in. We need more time to actually take that supervisor and do some one-on-one if they find a person particularly struggling. They're very complex. And they involve you. They involve the residents of Warren County and outside of Warren County as well. We don't really have the liberty of going, just sending them off to Albany, which Albany will periodically offer some training down there. There's no advance notice really for it, and most of the time it comes at a time that it's just not workable for us. We also have the LENS program here in Warren County in terms of driving. So, do I get everybody on board for driving, or am I going to drive them down, and issues. The supervisory coverage is necessary. Certainly, with all of this about the Real ID and the enhanced driver's license, has pushed our numbers up. Pushing numbers up is good for Warren County because it means more money for Warren County. But it also is a responsibility, to try and handle those. We, of course, as you know, did overtime to expand that staffing this past summer. But we were sitting at a status quo of about 60,000 transactions, and that is for several years, and now we're another 70 and possibly over that. And we also have a 9-hour day, requires supervisory coverage. That works great when, the supervisor comes on at 8 and the second one comes in at 9, so we're covered. Okay, then what happens when those people are on vacation? Now we've got a gap at the end of the day. Again, that second senior motor vehicle will have the authority to take care of those audits and to provide appropriate oversight to the existing staff. We also have, within the DMV alone, 1,300 hours of standard vacation leave time, vacation, personal, floating holidays, to the generosity of Warren County. It's well-deserved time off. I certainly understand that. But that's 1,300 hours, and that doesn't count sick time, that doesn't count bereavements, that doesn't count other things that might come up on the, without an announcement. It's kind of hard, and I talked about this over the weekend when Bill and I had a very brief exchange. What happens in the DMV, we are responsible for that behind the counter. DMV, New York State, and the governor's office will deliver to us what we have to do. And that may mean weights, and that may mean extra steps, and that may mean more requirements. But at the same time, while those things are going on and our numbers are going up, people are waiting. And they're also waiting because of our leave, and we can certainly justify it, but do they need to pay the price every time for those exceptional waits? I can say just so often, but not all the time, we're short-staffed. Someone's on vacation. Well, can't you do something about it? Can I do something about it? Lunch hours. We have 6 to 8 people, and we spread those out from 11 to 2. People come in at lunchtime. So those are the things that are confronting us. That's what's happening in the office. We have 4,000 to 5,000 telephone calls a month. Those calls do require an answer. Starting in April, I had to post that we could not guarantee same-day response. We will get back there, but it's pretty hard when you have an entire office that is still full from 8 a.m. to 5 to even scratch out enough time to get, 100, 150 calls back. So we do, but it's not as prompt as it was before. Finally, what's going on with the budget? There have been some changes in the clerk's office over the past summer, as you know, because I've been up here regarding those. And so, we're plus one, minus one, in terms of sometimes a salary change occurs because, somebody's making a little less money in the new position because they're a lower level than one that maybe an individual had left. So there's not too much change in that salary schedule. I would point out that it's the DMV is certainly an office that you see a lot of transaction money from. if you have in front of you your agenda, I also attached just our most recent deposit records. One, I believe you may have, the first one will be just for the month of October, and it's called Daily Deposit. And that bottom portion of it, there you'll see D&B fees. So the $44,147 is for transactions. That's retention that goes directly to Warren County from the D&B transactions that are occurring in our office at this time. That is up from prior. The second, on the reverse side, you're going to see what the D&B retention fees, that's what's happening in the office. That's the people that are coming in and actually having a transaction done in our office. For the year to date, as of Sunday afternoon, D&B fees have been brought in at $519,000. That's staying with Warren County. That doesn't count what has to go back on. That's just right here. That is also an increase. So I would just say that in terms of revenue producing, you know, D&B is a very important part of Warren County's financial plan, and I'm very proud of the work that they do there. But I think that the restructuring is very important for us right now. And with that, if there are any questions or a better explanation for all of this that perhaps the chairman might help me with, but if...
Pam, actually, I'd like to offer something, a slight change in what Pam originally suggested after our discussion, which I initiated over the weekend. There were two resolutions that Pam was looking for. One is to add the supervisory position, and the other is to delete the position that is being vacated by the person who's going to be moving up to the supervisor position. But I would recommend that the committee consider not deleting that position, because, as you've heard in the discussion, they need another body down there. And if we delete the position, we're just going to have to go through another process if you finally decide that they need to fill that position. Now you got to create another position. But I would actually recommend that you consider keeping that clerk position open and consider filling it.
Need a motion, Mr. Chairman?
We need a motion. Let's start with a motion to
As is.
create the position for supervisor. Make a motion, Supervisor Wild?
As it is, right? To create a position, to lead a position?
No, just create the position.
Okay.
Motion made by Supervisor Driscoll. Second? Supervisor Leggett. Discussion and questions on the motion to create the supervisory position.
Mr. Chairman, I'm in
Supervisor
favor of this approach. It seems reasonable to have some more supervisory help to kind of help with the throughput. But I am concerned about the next motion that may come up.
Well, that's another motion, one
So-
at a time.
I will support this.
Any other questions, comments about creating the position of supervisor? Supervisor Leggett.
So they're within your ranks already, you'll be promoting?
Yes, the position of senior motor vehicle has to come from within.
Okay.
Okay, so that person would be appointed and moved up to, so there would be two senior motor vehicles. They are all working employees, working staff. They still retain their roles on the floor. You know, a very active working group, but they also have the authorities as well as some of the supervisory duties, but the authorities that a motor vehicle clerk in and of itself would not have.
Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pam, how much training or how much opportunity is available for cross-training and of duties as far as civil service goes, as far as an individual in one specialty, I guess, moving in during a vacation or a sickness in order to...
Okay. Well, we can't take anyone from the county clerk's office into the DMV. Are you talking about something like that?
Possibly, yeah.
We have 18 people throughout the whole place.
Right.
County clerk and then DMV.
Just within DMV. I mean, do people have...
Yes.
Are they cross-trained so that they can...
Yes, all employees, supervisory, dealer people, and the motor vehicle clerks, they are trained towards full service
Okay.
transactions. Our in-house training starts with very basic, and then they get exposed to what the real window is going to be, and that takes time. But ultimately, whether we put them on an express, on a dealer, or a full-service window, everybody will do it. One potential, in looking at this position that we tentatively are looking at as a delete, is perhaps deleting that and then looking at a modification where it might be a second part-time where we can focus on maybe not the full service, but some of those immediate needs that the public has, making sure that the welcome window is covered, making sure that we can maybe get to the license plate surrenders quicker. That's an ideal. So it's possible that we might look at a modification of that position that we're deleting of motor vehicle clerk and train them for specific things.
Okay.
They aren't going to be full service or a full-time person, so they aren't going to potentially have all of the benefits that come with a full-time role. But on the other hand, we're kind of using that individual for specific tasks, and that might be helpful to us as well. Before we say, well, we want that another full-time motor vehicle clerk. Maybe we try this out. We're in some uncharted territory right now.
Okay, staying on focus, Supervisor Leggett, you had a question, you raised your hand.
What's the county's policy on creating positions? Do you have to delete one as well?
I don't have...
The form
Mr. Moore?
that I have, okay, somebody...
Mr. Moore, you had a comment, perhaps, to address that question also?
I'm answering that question. Deleting and creating positions is done by committee, and it's put on an agenda by a department head who has vetted it and believes that what they're putting on the agenda is the right thing to do. They vet it then with me and with the HR department, with civil service, and that's what we present to the committee. If there's any desire to do something different than what's been vetted before the committee, I'd respectfully request that you allow the staff to do that.
Okay, any other comments on the motion that's on the floor right now to create the supervisory position? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So,
The second point on the agenda, Supervisor Wild.
I have a motion to delete the position, please.
Okay, the motion to delete the position was by Supervisor Wild, second by Supervisor Leggett. Discussion, questions?
I always have a concern about adding full-time staff because it's such a long-term commitment for the county. And I have a question for Pam. Pam, the Real ID and the enhanced driver's license, right? We know there's a spike going on now. How long do you anticipate that to last? Is that going to be a year, or is it going to be 2 years? Once it's done, that push will be over with. And what I'm concerned about is that we'll have that extra staff that isn't going to be as busy now. So can we find some other way to do it with some part-time or some other retirees? I know you mentioned it's tough to get retirees to come in, but
Yeah, we
I'm
don't
wondering if
have
there's another way.
Yeah, we don't have a retiree pool at all. They have been out of this office for 10 plus years.
I see.
So, what is going to happen in the future? Well, one of the things that we're not even talking about right now is modernization of the DMV. That is something that will occur by 2025. That's going to mean all new changes in the DMV. So I'm not sure how all of that will impact us. We're going to continue to do Real ID and an enhanced driver's license from now on. There is a push now. People are just worried that they're not going to have documentation, but we will always have it. We have the enforcement. So will our numbers go down a little bit? It's possible, but I don't know what modernization is going to bring to us.
As well.
It's another follow-up question. Pam, of the people that are in the office now looking for support from our team, how many are just doing things that could be done online that they're just not aware that they could do it online?
How many of the transactions that are
That are happening
60,
now?
70,000? Our online transactions this past month of September were $3,000. That's what we got out of it. Of course, we make more if you come in and do the transaction in Warren County than what they give us. We get 12% for a transaction done in Warren County. We get about 2.5% to 3% if it's done online. But not everything can be done online. Your Real IDs, any of this licensing thing,
I understand.
you've got to come in.
If I may, what percentage of the transactions today could be done online? And maybe what I'm thinking is
Yeah.
that maybe through this rush, we do some information to the public to say that the Real ID is causing backlogs in the DMV.
Mm-hmm.
You can do these things online and not have to wait.
Not in,
So what's the percentage of
right. I know
online?
I'm not prepared to
Can
give
you
that to
guess?
you, but I can.
Could you
I
guess?
can-
Is it 10%? Is it 50%?
Right now we have about, would it be 50%? Oh, no.
Okay.
Maybe 20. Once you go online and do something, then they kind of presume you're going to do it again until something happens with your license or registration, certain things. But there are certain things that can be done. But I would say we're about 20%. We lose that revenue here, of course.
Okay. So my point is, Mr. Chairman, that maybe we can find some other way instead of adding permanent staff that's going to be with us for many years.
That's, I think, what Mr. Moore was referring to also. So my point was that let's keep this, not put our heads in the sand. I've mentioned this before to the full Board of Supervisors, and I'll mention it to you and any future supervisors. You have two jobs. One, because the joke is you can be guaranteed there's going to be taxes, so your job is to make sure that that money is spent honestly. The other job is to make sure that the services that Warren County needs are being provided. And that's what we're talking about today. Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Modernization 2025, could that include scheduling appointments online? I know if I want to donate blood, you know, I put the date and time that I'm available if those slots are available. If I show up for a movie at the cinema, I'm probably not going to get a seat because those seats have already been filled online. I mean, is that a possibility that instead of me walking in on a Monday morning, if I'm more available this Thursday and there's plenty of time, so certainly there's going to be walk-ins, but if I'm guaranteed a slot, I'm just throwing that out as a...
I mean, individual office appointments have been tried and have not panned out. However, a modernization, they have teams of people working in Albany with some of the county clerks that have a core group and are just beginning to, they're surveying all of us for what doesn't work in the system and all of those things. So I think we're going to see more information on this, you know, what's going to be added, what conveniences, hopefully conveniences for the customer are there. So I think we'll see more as in the next year. It's a very busy time for the DMV because they really are struggling with Real ID and enhanced drivers and undocumented. So, but we're at least we're happy in October when we heard that modernization is still there, still on the radar. It's just a very involved process. The biggest thing on modernization is the technology. The fact that DMV has built all of its technology on a very old system, and we keep putting things on top of it just to to accommodate and address things. But that's where, and hopefully we won't have those downtimes that also contribute to our problems, in the DMV. I appreciate all of this discussion. To be very honest with you, it was a busy summer. We had so many changes over the summer. Might we have thought about this then? As part of the budget time, I am very conservative. I think it's possible that we could revisit this, maybe just examine it in a part-time scope, because I too am very concerned about, all of the benefits, all well and good, but the cost of those benefits to Warren County. But I do appreciate the discussion and the opportunity, perhaps, if we could, to revisit this and see how things are going, and to see if something part-time might help us that isn't tied to benefit, a large benefit package. So that may be something we would like to consider. We won't have a person for this, for filling in that potential position until at least January, because we will not have test results back, and so we will not be just going out there and trying to get somebody. We won't do that. So we have some time. If it's okay with the chairman and the rest of the committee, perhaps if need be, we could revisit how we're doing on this, and maybe I can have those additional answers for you, and I'm sure I can. Supervisor Wild.
I'm more than open.
Okay, so before I recognize you, Supervisor Wild, just one observation. Airports have customer service lines, and sometimes they're very long, but they have recently instituted a process where they have computer terminal kiosks. So you can go, when you see this line that has 60 people on it, you can go to the kiosk and get your answers, your questions answered, and find out, I don't need to stand in line, because they're not going to help me. Perhaps that's something, Mike Colvin is here, that we could have a couple of terminals to say, do you need to wait online, or perhaps you could do it here. We wouldn't get the money, but it would help the customer service. Supervisor Wild.
Thank you. I can't move forward with any kind of keeping a position open to what might happen in 2025.
Well, the motion is to delete the position. We have a
Exactly.
second for that.
I'm ready.
Any other questions or comments on that line? I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anything else, Pam? You all set?
I think I'm all set.
Very good. Thank you very much for the discussion.
That's what Pam wanted in the first place.
Yeah.
IT.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Here this morning, the first resolution is for a new contract for the website redesign that we spoke about. We did a RFP for it, and we got a bunch of bids in. One came in at $340,000, and I thought about asking for that, but I didn't want to put the budget office before the price would go up, so I thought, well, we'll start at the other end. So we had a bid. They were very, very wild in prices. I really looked at those, and I couldn't explain really why they were wild, and just they are. So I checked references on the, starting at the lower end. They reviewed the sites they've done, does everything we need, check references with other counties that are using them, no issues. So kind of picked the low bid because they're showing that they're doing what they need to do. So looking for permission to enter into a contract to move forward with that project.
A resolution by Supervisor Hogan for catalog and commerce. Do I have a second? Second by Supervisor Leggett. Questions? Okay, Supervisor Leggett.
So the website design includes what?
The creating a whole new one that's responsive, meaning, when you look at a computer, it looks this way. When you pick it up from your phone, it looks a different way. It fits that device. Hosting, making it compliant and everything we need to do, making it a little more user-friendly for the average citizen, things like that. So this part here is just to get the ball started, then get a group of people together as it's developed to make sure it does everything we need it to do. It's about a 6-month process.
6 months. Supervisor Hogan.
I'm sure you thought of this, but ADA compliant too?
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the big things going around. A lot of counties are kind of getting, strong-armed, I guess, and doing things they don't need to do, but making sure ours is there so we don't fall into that problem.
It's beneficial and fortuitous that you were able to actually check their work and check other references, a lot of it. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Wild? Or Mr. Colvin? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next one.
And then the next resolution is with our high-end networking contracting we do. We always had a contract in place that says, we pay this much an hour with a maximum on there. And it's been several years since that was done, and he has an hourly rate increase, so the contract needs to be updated. And then we had a maximum amount before of $3,000 a year. We've never come close to that. But when we have big projects going on, and this year we had 2 projects going on, we're going to see that $3,000. And so I just wanted to update the hourly rate and to increase the maximum we could spend with this contractor on those high-end years.
Okay, motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Leggett, Supervisor Wild, second. Discussion. Supervisor Leggett.
And so with these changes, it does not then need to go back out to RFP if it all fits within our policies?
For the contracting? Yeah, because we have somebody that has intimate knowledge of our network that we work with, and then, if we get over certain dollar amounts, then we still follow all the purchasing guidelines if things get too high.
This is a professional service contract?
Other questions?
Okay.
No further questions for Mr. Colvin. I'll call the question then. This is to increase the hourly rate, yes, from $125 to $150. First time since 2015, I believe. And then to increase the maximum amount not to exceed $10,000. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anything else, Mike?
That's all I've got.
All right.
Chairman, and Mike, thank you. I apologize, I should have brought this up when Pam was here, but as I'm thinking more about the situation with DFV and her response about maybe 20% being able to do things online, could we put a couple of terminals down in DMV?
Yep.
They say, here, go online, do it. Could we structure that so that the security is set and everything else?
Yeah, we have a public network that's plugged into that, so they're not part of the county network at all. As we replace machines for, production use, they're still be good enough for internet access kind of thing, so it wouldn't cost us any money in that respect.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, maybe you and I can meet with Pam, see if that's something that she can be amenable to.
Okay.
Supervisor McDevitt.
Very respectfully, Mr. Chairman, Pam did mention that the percentage of revenue garnered by Warren County when Warren County consumers go to the counter and do their business as being 12-13%. What did she say, online is 2-3%? How do we make up for the revenue gap and the loss of revenue that will occur by being so-called so efficient? Unless the formula changes in the governor's office or the legislature's office, putting the terminals in is going to cost us money and create a revenue gap, a negative in our budgetary process. So I'm confused.
Supervisor Wild.
I'm not sure where this would be decided, but I thought we're all in the purpose of trying to provide services to our constituents instead of making money off of them. I'm not sure what the numbers are. Do you have any idea how much money we're going to lose if 20% of these transactions are online versus how much it's going to cost us to add a new person over 20 years possibly of their career and retirement? I'm looking at a short-term situation here where, sorry, I should have addressed the chair. I'm looking for a short-term situation here where Real ID and the like may go for a couple of years, may go for a little bit longer, but that's not the same as adding a full-time staff. Remember that the cost will go on.
Some transactions can't be done online. Supervisor Driscoll?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the discussion, we're not, it doesn't seem to me that we're saving our residents any money. It's just how much is coming to the county. So by doing it online, you know, we're not putting money back in their pocket. They're still paying the same fee. Just how much is coming to the county as opposed to New York State is I think the discussion.
And saving, well, Supervisor Wiles says it's customer service. Saving them time.
Customer service, yeah.
Supervisor Leggett?
Thank you. When Pam was talking, did a quick calculation. If we're looking at $600,000 projected for 2019, and let's say that half of that comes from things that you can do online of $300,000, and there's a 10% difference in your fees. That's about $30,000, which is less than what a full-time position would be to take up all that slack or demand for doing things at the counter. So we are here, especially at the DMV, for customer service and to process quickly. So if the technology can come in and help that, then we are providing a better service at less cost to the county.
Further questions for just IT? Supervisor Wiles?
I'm sorry, Mike. That does involve you a little bit, but if I could ask our treasurer, what does he think about the revenue versus cost piece? That's all right, no comment then.
No comment, I guess, at this point. I'd have to go back and think about it, but I see every day what goes on in the DMV. I walk by there every day, 4 times, 5 times a day, and in the last year, it's out the door. You see 30, 40 people waiting in line when the door opens at 8 whatever, that they open the door, 8:15. So, you know, if one more person is going to speed that up, and the terminal is going to speed that up, I think it should be done, because I'm telling you, some of the people are not happy when they're coming out of there, when they waited for 2 hours to get service. Sure. So I hear the remarks.
No comment.
Motion to adjourn?
Hey, Craig. Excellent point in comparison, although I know when I try to do my bags at the airport, undoubtedly I'm asking a staff member to take their time to tell me which button to push. So, I mean, we're still using, I think, staff time for a lot of the, unless you're a whiz on, with technology, but I think half of the average people that come through those doors are going to need some human assistance as opposed to just the technology.
You're referring to us old people versus the
Yeah,
younger
I'm
generation.
talking about myself.
Have you looked at the demographics for our county?
Anything further for Mr. Colvin? All right, thank you, Mr. Colvin.
Sorry, Mike.
All right, next we have, let's go, clerk of the board.
My agenda, you should all have a copy of it. I'm looking for a transfer of funds for $3,000 from the contingent account to the board's travel, education, and conference to cover mileage.
Supervisor Hogan makes motion, Supervisor Driscoll second. Discussion and questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anything else for Amanda, the clerk of the board?
All I have.
Okay. go to the county administrator.
Is that what he's going to be talking about, all those papers today?
Okay, I'll point out that everyone has had the opportunity to read the travel policy amendments online. So the packet that you're receiving is a copy of that, but
It's the same?
it will all be the same. Actually, it looks like
Chairman,
the amendments are keeping up with the time.
That's right, and that's my, that's all I have to say. It's, these are administrative amendments.
So on this copy, there's highlights. What was online, I did not see any track
They were in
changes.
bold online.
They were in bold. So the first one in the treasurer's office, we sometimes have a situation where the deputy treasurer will, on his lunch break, take care of the banking business, and it was requested to just button that up in the policy, that that's allowed, that doesn't have to be done with a county car. And the peer-to-peer program is in recognition of how that program has to work. Sometimes they'll give a ride to a client. That's just part of the program mission.
Have a motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Wild, second. Supervisor Leggett. Further questions or discussions? So questions, comments, discussions, Supervisor Hogan?
I realize this predates these changes, but is there a reason that specific departments are exempt from the requirement that their employees use a county vehicle?
I did see your question this morning, and yes, DSS has an exemption because their work a lot of time involves site visits. So if they're coming from home, for instance, and they live up in Johnsburg and they have a site visit in Thurman, we don't require them to go drive down and get the county car and then drive back up.
Thank you.
And we
Anyone
can
else?
get a mileage report as well. That wouldn't be too difficult, I don't think.
Okay, then I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anything else, Mr. Moore?
The county attorney, I
mean,
don't know
for you.
not for me.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
I would do my best for the county attorney unless Robert's ready to go.
Sure, I can do that. So I'm here. Yeah, I had a bunch of these little guys.
One of the things I requested of the county attorney was an update on litigation, mostly because one of the supervisors often requests a full update. I'm not sure what extent the update on litigation the committee would like.
Well, I can start with some of the cases that I know we have going on. One of them, definitely Supervisor Hogan be very interested. It's the railroad case up there, Saratoga North Creek Railroad, San Luis, Permian Basin. They're all kind of combined together, owned by one holding company, the Iowa Holding Company. Iowa Railroad Holdings owns it all. That litigation is going on. I expect Mr. Kelly to be served sometime here before the end of the month by the sheriffs in New Hampshire. The railroad itself was served at its Pennsylvania address. That's actually his mother's house, is the headquarters for the railroad, part of it that he operates. What we want to really do with that is just be able to get those cars out of there, and that we don't have really anything much going there. Also is the case with the railroad. They're in bankruptcy, the Iowa Holding Company. They're in a receivership out there in Illinois. So that railroad, we would love to get money out of it for taxes they didn't pay on the parcels that they use, even water bills out of the North Creek Water Department that they didn't pay. We're probably not going to get anything because they're in a receivership. That's going to be gobbled up by a company called Big Shoulders LLC that actually is owed a lot of money by what's left of this Iowa Holding Railroad Company. That's probably going to gobble it up. We're probably not going to see a darn thing from it in that receivership. Let's see what we get out of it. I don't know if we'll get anything. I did apply for a default motion and see if the judge grants us our default judgment, which would give us a judgment for money. How we're going to collect on that, who knows? Again, if it's gone in a receivership and everything's been sold off to pay creditors, we're going to probably be last in line behind these other creditors who have liens established over the last few years.
Good. Supervisor Hogan.
Was there any significance to the fact that in that receivership paperwork, Saratoga North Creek was not specifically mentioned?
Not really, in the sense that it's owned by other companies, it seems to be owned by the Permian Basin and San Luis Rio Grande Railroad, so it's a subsidiary of them. Maybe there are assets we can get. I think if we can get a money judgment here, that would be great. Then it's to take it and see if somebody can collect on it for us. How much we can do in-house, if we had to get the collection agency. My first thing is just, let's get a money judgment, see what we can get out of them. I don't want to get high hopes on it. Chances are, probably not much.
Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just curious, the Sanford line, is this Big Shoulders or whatever that company, could they take title to that and possibly block the motion by Saratoga North Creek to allow the trail, or not to fight the abandonment?
I don't think they'd even care. I think they just want money. I mean, they're not going to want to
They're
run
not
a
gonna take
railroad
the
out of
railroad.
possession. They're just going to want to liquidate assets and get money. That's really what the receivership is going to be doing, collecting things and selling it. There's another railroad that's owned with this Iowa one called the, it's out in Oregon, the Mount Hood Railroad, which is an Oregon-based railroad. That's another one. They're just trying to get what they can back. They don't seem to be interested in possessing and running and managing railroads in any way or doing anything. I
So
don't
just
know.
continuing going forward, what do you think might happen, or what are the options with this Sanford line?
I really don't know on that one, Mike. I'll have to look into that more and see with it. But I mean, I don't think these companies are just, they look like just shell companies, most of them.
Right.
All they want to do is just get money. I don't think they're interested in even having anything there unless there was a lot of money to be made in an up and running business already that they could take over and gobble up and lease out or sell or even maybe run themselves. But if it looks like it's a kind of a defunct business, maybe the line is there to use, but there's no real business up and running already on it. I don't think they're that interested.
But do you have any idea what might happen to the title? I'm just, if
That
it's
I
going
don't
through
know.
bankruptcy,
That I
who would
don't
pick that up?
Yeah, I'll have to look into that one, Mike, and see. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah,
I'm just curious.
interesting question though, yeah.
Ready?
Question?
We are running over.
Okay.
Are there
well,
particular, you don't have to stand up.
Oh, I don't mind. I'm used to that.
Two questions. Is there something that, in your litigation, because I know there are several things you're working on, that is new, that we should be aware of, and is there something one of the supervisors is interested in having answered?
Do real quick on Superior Cantina that owes money to the LDC, the EDC for a loan on that one as well. The people who have guaranteed and backed that loan up, the ones in Colorado who are the cousins of the family here, Patton were the name of the family here that was running the restaurant. I expect them to reach a settlement with us and pay off some of it, at least pay their share of what they backed up. The Pattons have filed a Chapter 13 bankruptcy again. They filed one once before and it was dismissed because they hadn't filed income tax on the business. They filed one again. We filed a proof of claim. And again, the 13, we'll get how much we're in the plan for. They're paying a lot of other creditors. They're still going to pay off to keep their house and their Cadillac, but a lot of other debts are going to be paid off partially. The county will be in the plan, but probably not for much. I don't expect to get much out of it. I don't think it's going to be a high percentage plan, so I don't think we'd be getting much back from them. We will get money from the other people in Colorado who were the other guarantors of that loan. Probably not going to get the full amount back, but we'll get something back on that one.
Any other high-flying thing that...
What other high-flying ones? No, there is a little one for the railroad that we're going to, not for the road, for the airport, that we're going to be starting on, but that's just a minor one regarding an airplane there that hasn't paid rent. So
Me too.
He started on that. That'll be another update coming up. I've submitted a notice to that person, which I expect to get news about whether they've been served or not. It's in Essex County, so I have to get word back from the sheriffs up there whether they've been served with a notice on it. Once I get that, then I can start the litigation against them.
And we'll go to the original agenda item?
Oh,
Or no,
yeah,
did
what
you
was that
have-
one? Was
you
that
have
with
it
the opioid litigation and that? Yeah, that's an interesting one, too. Purdue Pharmaceutical did start a bankruptcy at Chapter 11. We got a nice big thick packet on that from them. There is a question, there's litigation going on in Ohio that's part of a federal court litigation there, and speaking with the county attorney on it,
and she has spoken with the outside counsel that assists us in this, which is a firm down in New York City. What's her name? Napoli and Shkolnick in New York City. There are about 40 attorneys in it. It looks like kind of a boutique firm that does a lot of tort litigation. They do a lot of 9/11 and mesothelioma litigation, as well as they're getting involved in the opioid cases as well. It seems to be that we would kind of want to opt out of the Ohio litigation. They're going into a class action settlement kind of venue where they want plaintiffs to either opt in or opt out. If you opt in, you're going to be in whatever settlement they get, and that's what you get, and that settles everything. It seems to be for the New York counties, they seem to more or less want to go with our own, joined with the Attorney General here. The AG's office in New York has got things going on. There's cases in Nassau and Suffolk that are getting closer to trial. They're in the discovery phase. They're getting closer to trial down there. It'd be interesting to see where they go and what comes out of that, if that leads to something here in New York State, a kind of class action among New York counties and plaintiffs. The idea is hoping that if New York kind of goes, instead of joining in this litigation in Ohio, that maybe we'd get more money here for the plaintiffs in New York State if the Attorney General's office and the counties here can pressure it and bring the litigation on it here and get more money here rather than being a small fish of part of the Ohio litigation. So that's kind of where we're at with this.
And that is the resolution that's going to be, I'm going to ask for a motion.
Resolution is to opt in or opt out.
So we have what he was referring to is our agenda item number 3. So can I have a motion to bring it to the floor, please? Supervisor Driscoll, second by Supervisor Wild. Supervisor Hogan.
It's my understanding that opting into the class action in Ohio does not prevent us from anything that happens in New York State. In fact, I read it said, nothing in this class interferes with proceeding in state court for litigation, trial, or independent negotiation.
I think they would probably want something that does, because the plaintiffs, I mean, certainly the drug companies, they're not going to want to pay you money on that litigation and have you turn around and sue them again. So if there isn't anything in there now, there would be as part of the agreement that you'd have to say, this is it, we take what we get out of this and that's it.
So we don't really know what we're opting out of at this point?
At this point, what we're opting out of is whatever, yeah, we don't know what the money is. There hasn't been, I don't know of anything put on the table. I don't see anything here saying, we're putting up X billions of dollars and split it up and share it out. So it's...
But they said that they did put out like a percentage formula for counties for all the litigants?
Percentage formula and stuff like that. I actually have a memorandum opinion here from the court on that. Do you have that? Do you folks have that? Or has that been, okay. Maybe that'd be something for us to distribute out, let you guys take a look at it and see. But it, to join in, and again, if you have more detailed questions, please talk to the county attorney on it. She's been in conversation directly with the outside counsel, Napoli and Shkolnick, who advise us on this and are really they're the tort people on this kind of stuff.
At this point, the resolution does not require the chairman to opt out. It gives him the option of opting out.
Gives the option of opting out.
Any further questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? With a little more enthusiasm?
Aye.
That's 2. 3?
It's the option, it's not necessarily the
Correct.
actual
The
option,
chairman.
to be clear,
Correct.
the option.
Of course, you know, you would want to talk to the chairman to see if he wants to do it, or however we're going to do it. But that is not requiring the chairman to opt out. It's giving him the option of, or her the option of.
Can we we have to do it before November
22nd.
22nd.
So
It has to be authorized, it doesn't have to be authorized by the full board, just this committee.
Not sure. Our Administrator Moore.
I just want to reiterate, this is the recommendation of the firm that is working for us to advise us on these issues. They certainly know a lot more about opioid litigation than I do.
Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just as a point of clarification for myself, if we received monies, they would be managed similar to like the petroleum overcharge monies and the tobacco monies. It would be up to the individual county to decide how they would be dispersed. I mean, which departments would benefit from those?
That would make sense. I'll ask Bob.
I do have a little bit of a breakdown I got from the county attorney on this. The counties would get some of it, maybe about a third of it, that could go into general fund money. Another large chunk of it would be using what they call like a remediation distributed by Oasis and others like that. So it seems that they'd want a lot of the money to be used for drug treatment and education, rehabilitation, that kind of stuff.
So, I mean, it could be towards the sheriff's department, it could be for health services. I don't know any other departments that would
Yeah, at
fit
this
into
point, I
that,
don't think
possibly
we have
even
much more
social services.
General fund.
Yeah, general fund.
General fund out of it, and some of it definitely earmarked for specific things.
But it'll be up to the board to decide how we
I was
Certainly
slice
any
up the
money
pie.
will into the general fund, yes.
Okay.
Supervisor Wild, did you have another
I
question?
had a question for our administrator, who's since left.
I think, can I go on to the supervisor?
Well, hold on a second. Here's what I'm thinking of, is that I'm wondering how impartial our council is. Because if we settle and agree to go with the Ohio, do we owe our council money? And if we stay with them, then they get a chunk of whatever our settlement is. I'm just curious if there's,
I don't know.
do we know where?
Chairman Conover.
I believe that the contract we have with them is a percentage, and I think that what happens is I remember this, what the court requires is all like cases to come together to what they call a unified case.
Sure.
So, I'm sure maybe in Ohio, for example, as well, there's doing multiple attorneys that are representing different counties and different. I'm reminded of this statement that anyone that acts as his own attorney has a fool for a client. So that's supposed to be funny. We hired expert counsel on this. We interviewed to guide us on this, and I think it would be wise to keep the counsel of our expert counsel. But I would defer to the county administrator. The question was asked if we were to join in with the Ohio situation, would that somehow void any payment as part of that litigation, that our attorney wouldn't receive any payment as a result. My response was that, no, I don't believe that's true at all.
Well, it's not true at the moment, but I believe that's what Mr. Terwilliger said, that there's unlikely to be a settlement on that if we have the situation continue the way it is now. Is that correct? That these companies are not going to settle if there's the opportunity for us to be in that and then come back and hit them again in New York State?
Absolutely, it's going to be it's an either-or kind of thing with it. I mean, if you're going to be in with this litigation in Ohio, this multi-district litigation they call it, if you're going to be in on that, whatever you get out of that settlement, all the plaintiffs who want to participate are going to have to sign in on the agreement as well, and that agreement is going to be you get out of this what you get, and you're waiving any other claims and things like that. They're not going to have you come back and sue them again in New York State or somewhere else and try to get more money. I mean, that they call it double dipping. That's something that they're definitely going to want to have this agreement structured to avoid that.
Supervisor Hogan.
So the argument I saw on the other side, and I'm not arguing it, I'm just saying, I did some reading on this, and it said that if we go at these individual routes, they're going to take forever. That it's never going to get settled because you've got basically a 1,000 different suits going at them. So, I mean, there's arguments to both sides, and we're being asked to make a decision based on, very little information. That's all my concern is here.
Supervisor Wild.
Thank you. And again, I'm going to ask Ryan. Ryan, in terms of our council that we've hired, if we go to Ohio, do we still have to pay them a share of what we get? Our council.
If we remain in this?
If we remain in Ohio, the Ohio litigants are going to take their third or whatever and then are we going to have to give another third to our council?
Robert, do you know? Do you know the answer to that question?
I have no idea what the agreement is between that council. You talked about Napoli Shkolnik, what the agreement would be as far as what percentage they would get of an amount that'd be allocated to Warren from a settlement. That I don't know what that agreement is on that. I'm just thinking the question really is, where would we be better off? Are we going to get more money from being in this litigation that's going on now in Ohio in the federal district court there? Or would Warren County and other counties in New York be better off pursuing it here in New York State, probably under the lead of the Attorney General? There are the cases in Nassau and Suffolk County which are farther ahead. Maybe we're kind of taking a wait-and-see attitude to see what goes in those cases. I don't know. The courts are definitely going to want this stuff consolidated into one as much as possible, rather than having a lot of different lawsuits all over the place against the drug companies. And the drug companies are too, because they're just going to want to allocate the money and make a payout and be done with it.
Okay, I'm going to recall the question because I don't know if we had we were voting one at a time. So we have a motion and a second to give the chairman the authority to opt out without any pressing comments or questions. I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
2. Supervisor Wild, Supervisor Hogan?
I can't decide.
I don't feel like I have enough information. And I'm not questioning.
Can I make a suggestion? We adjourn this meeting, have the environmental committee, and then go back into this meeting with the county attorney here. The county attorney's looked at this with our outside counsel. She's recommended this course of action to me. I have confidence in her ability to do that. That's why it's on this agenda.
I'll go with Mary's recommendation.
Mary's?
Our county attorney. Mary. You're talking about Mary?
All right.
All right.
I won't be able to be present
Okay.
for that.
And all opposed? All right. Carried. Anything further to come before support services? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. And we won't be coming back.
Ever.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Second? Very good. We are adjourned. Thank you very much. Sorry for the carryover, but it was all good discussion. Thank you.